Welcome to the Startup Grind.
So usually when I start an interview, I like to get the audience to get to know you. So where are you originally from? What did your parents do?
So born and raised in a little bit east here, Cameron Park, California.
Woo-hoo.
It's about 30, 45 minutes east of Sacramento, so up towards Lake Tahoe.
And what did your parents do?
Mom was a stay-at-home mom growing up.
I have a lot of respect for that because my wife is one too.
Yeah, so is mine. It's like 4 kids.
Where's it? 4 kids. Where's mom?
So that's something important to us. And then my dad was in insurance. Worked for Allstate for 25 years.
And that's really, that's where you learned a lot of your sales skills? Because I feel like you're a very skilled sales professional.
No, my dad's the least salesperson you ever met. He's actually anti-sales. He doesn't even like salespeople. So I don't know where. Yeah.
Okay. And I have to ask, what was your first job?
So first real technical job was so in college, the way we grew up, didn't come from a ton of money, and so my first semester at college, I went to Sierra College, and it was just for me. It wasn't the right environment. I was going to college with people I went to high school with, and it just wasn't, I wasn't very motivated going to school every day. So my dream was to go to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, and I didn't have the grades for it because you have to have something crazy like a 4.1 or 4.2 GPA to get in Cal Poly. It's insane. So I transferred down to Cuesta and went to school down there. And at Cuesta is where I got my first real job, so to speak, and I had to pay for school, so I sold books door to door in college. So it's pretty crazy. I'd go
Encyclopedias?
Similar. So for 3 months of the year, we'd relocate to a different part of the nation. So my first summer I was in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I went around and knocked on doors for 80 hours a week for 3 months. We sold education material, so it was books for kids to help out like math, English, science, and then and also like some computer software.
That's brutal sales.
Yeah.
So were any lessons from that?
So it's like the school of hard knocks, So I'm actually in a group, EO in Sacramento. It's like 50 most successful entrepreneurs in Sacramento. And you'd actually be shocked how many people come from a door-to-door background. It's actually really intriguing. I think the skills you learn from talking to, for me, I had to knock on, I spoke with that one summer 3,000 families. There was a lot of quick no's, and there were some sit-down presentations I gave, probably about 500 of 3,000. But that was my first real job.
So what do you think your close rate in knocking on that many doors? How many doors do you have to knock on before you get a sale?
About my first summer, I sold one person a day, and then I did this for 6 years through school, which it took me 6 years to graduate college, if you catch on to that. But so at the end of it, we have a guy in here, Anthony Brown, who's the all-time record holder for first summers and he works in our company too. And there's probably about 8 of us now that sold in college that work for it was one of the reasons we took off so quick as a company. We had a bunch of us that had really good sales background. And we kind of talked about this before this interview. I would take a good salesperson in the medical industry over somebody who has 10 years of medical experience, because I think you can learn, it might take 6 months or a year to learn medical, the terms, how to talk to a doctor. But selling is a skill I think that some people never learn, or they're just not good at selling, period. I'd rather take somebody with formal sales training that's really, really good at selling and teach them medical, as opposed to taking somebody with medical knowledge and teaching them sales. I think that's a lot tougher to do that. And not a lot of people agree. If you talk to Medtronic, Boston Scientific, they actually, those big billion-dollar companies do not agree. They'll take people with strong medical backgrounds and teach them selling to get them in. And I had to apply to 320 companies. 320 companies. I sent my application in. I had a really good resume. Cal Poly, top salesperson, and nobody would interview me. I got 4 interviews. It took me a year and a half to get into medical. And after 320 applications to companies, I got 4 companies to interview me. The first 3 told me no, because they're like, you don't have experience. And the 4th one that finally hired me, I got into medical. And then we crushed everybody that didn't hire us now.
You
so it's
really wanted to get into medical?
Motivation to beat your competitors later.
The other thing I'm actually thinking is that, going door to door, did you kind of get immune to the rejection? Because I think that's a lot of, that's a skill that That's I think that's one of the things that maybe keep people from being successful is the fear of being rejected.
Yeah, I think it's like you get callous to hearing no, maybe, or
Yeah.
you don't take. I think you learn after 6 years of doing that, 3,000 hours a summer. You learn that like there's a certain amount of people that are going to say no. There's a certain amount of people that are going to say yes, and then there's some gray area in between. And if you get good at selling in the gray area, the people that are kind of like maybe I'll buy. And you learn how to convert them. That's where you really win. But it's just a numbers game. You
don't take it personally then.
I mean, the first year I did. The first year, I had multiple days where I'd be crying home to my mom. I can't do this. This is like I want to go home. Like this is being 19 years old and selling door to door and like. If you've ever been in the Midwest, it's so brutal. It's like it's muggy. It's like it feels like it's 120 degrees out.
Were you wearing a suit too?
No. You're in your call like shorts, polo shirt, all that.
Okay.
So, but it's not glorifying. People always think door to door is like it's one of the hardest things you can do. So.
Oh yeah, I would imagine that. So actually, let's start out. So you started Precision Medical Products in like 2010, right?
Yeah.
So first off, what is Precision Medical? What do you guys do?
So I'll transfer into it because what happened is out of college, my whole time, the reason I did sales stuff, I thought I was gonna become a stockbroker, right? That's what my dream was, always be a stockbroker. All my classes, I took like finance. One day I'm a stockbroker. When I graduated, I got my Series 7, Series 66, and then I basically was a stockbroker for 2 years, and I absolutely hated it. And this is funny in life because there's some young people in here. Because I had a couple of things of advice for different people in the room, and one is for young people: go do an internship while you're in college, or what you're gonna like really want to do, intern with the company. Because if I would have interned in college, I would have realized right away, like being a stockbroker is not what it's like in the movies, where you think like, oh, I want to move this, sell, buy, like you think you're like control. It's not. It's like I was calling up people that were like, hey, you're currently getting 4.7% on your bond. Would you be interested in a bond that pays 4.85, like that's what I did all day. I mean, that's.
So you went from knocking on doors to cold calling.
Yeah, and I actually would rather knock on doors than I hated cold calling. Cold calling is like, it's so brutal to just make call, and I'm pretty good at selling. And I got my butt kicked doing that. I hated it. Every day when I wake up, I'd hate going to work. So I had some friends that were in medical and really enjoyed what they did. I feel like for medical. It's one of my big takeaways for whatever company you're doing is like find your why, what you're passionate about. And I also have some friends this day, they're still in Edward Jones, stockbrokers who do very well. They've started their own firms and done phenomenal. My heart was just never in that. I never woke up in the morning and was like, I want to go sell a corporate bond. Like that just never really fired me up. But in medical, I love like the whole fact like we save patients' lives. We can help people rehab faster. We can see tangibly like a patient go from having trouble walking to fully walking. Like that really motivates me, and I see we're making a difference in people's lives. So that's what made me go into medical. And so the first job when I got into...
So that was it was basically your friends that were in the medical industry that inspired you to go in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it took me, like I said before, it took me about a year and a half of like applying to everybody to get in. It was really tough to get into the industry in terms of medical sales.
All right. Then we go back to that.
Yeah.
Starting your business then.
So the reason I want to tell you that is because, so my goal, I think it's very important, whatever business, because this is for entrepreneurs, right? It's the whole understand your why and understand your passion of what you're going to do, right? Because along that journey, there were some really, really tough times. And we'll talk about some as we go through this. But at my core, like, that's what I wanted to do, you know? And I worked so hard to get into medical. And I always wanted to start a company, and that passion is like what ultimately drove me. Because there was days, you know, where you run out of money as a company, you have no funds, you have lawsuits, you have people slandering your name, saying stuff. It makes you like question like, why am I really in this? And I don't believe there's some people that are very money motivated, but I think money only gets you like so much motivation. For me, it wasn't money that drove me. It was that why and that passion of what you're doing. I think that's so important, and I wish I realized that younger, because I would have avoided being a stockbroker. It just never, like, I never really, it didn't get me up in the morning, you know. And some people it does, like but everybody's different. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we're starting to go with the business. Like, what inspired you to? Well, actually, first, what is Precision Medical
Yeah.
products, and then why do you start it?
I also have like severe ADD, so if we might be talking about some random stuff, I'll take on some crazy journeys.
We have high school students.
Yeah.
They're really brutal.
I know. We'll go. So I was already, so there's good and bad to every job, right? And I was working for a company that was, I was really grateful. They got me to medical, learned a lot from them. But at the end of the day, with that particular company, they kept jacking our quotas and our commission rates, and we're just playing with like my financial livelihood. And it just really made me upset that we work for the same company. And it was across the board. A lot of the reps were just like, I'm just so sick of this company, like just redoing corporate structure, redoing like the commissions. You're always cutting into our paychecks. And our sales were going up and we're making less. And finally one day we're like, I'm just done with it. Like I'm gonna go work for myself and go rep my own products, because at the end of the day, I can control my own destiny. And I think
it's like Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, I guess. It's I mean, what it came down to is it's all about risk tolerance. Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, like a lot of people don't want to take that risk, because I was making about $300,000 a year as a sales rep. I was making really good money, so it's not like I was doing pretty well. Like I could have been very, very well off in like Sacramento, California, making $300,000 a year. But I didn't want to look back. Like when I
some of the high school kids making notes right there.
Yeah, I mean, and we were, a few of us, like we were in the top echelon of selling at medical, and you can do pretty well in medical. But what drove me to make that decision to jump ship and leave that company and go start my own thing was the fact, at the end of the day, I want to look back at my life and be like, okay, I gave it a shot. I could have made $300,000 a year for 20 years, done very well, retired, been like, and I just didn't want to look back like on my deathbed and say like, well, I never really gave it a shot. Like I coasted through life or whatever. I'm like, if I fail, I fail. Like I feel like I'm talented and I'll go get another job with somebody else and make $300,000 again. Like I believe in myself. I believe in like my selling skills, and I was already in medical. I'm like, I can get back in. But I don't want to look back as in 20, 30, 40 years from now and say, well, I never really gave it a run. Like what could have been accomplished? What could, that's my whole thing, is like, I just want to throw it all out there and see what
did some other people from your company follow you too, or you started work together for forming your company?
Yeah, we took a fair amount of people with us from the other company.
I see a lot. So like, all right, so first off, just so the audience knows, what is Precision Medical Products? So what is it you guys do?
So Precision Medical Products, stay pretty high level. So we specialize mostly in orthopedics. We do a couple different call points of the medical, but we represent 28 different products for the most part, all within the orthopedic space. We stay out of surgical. Like what we learned by doing that is, in the operating room, there's a lot of companies, a lot of billion-dollar big companies that fight for that space, and we didn't want to battle with those big Boston Scientific, Medtronic, all those big companies. So we focus on the rehab part. So when patients come out of surgery, helping them rehab quicker. Crutches, braces. One of our lead products is DVT prophylaxis. So it's basically a wrap that squeezes your calf, and by squeezing your calf, it pumps blood to your body. By pumping blood to your body, it prevents blood clots. And blood clots are the number 2 leading cause of death in hospitals. You get a blood clot, it goes to your lungs, and you get pulmonary embolism. You can die. So that's our number one product. But we do 28 of them. So that's.
But when you first started out, you were selling other people's products. Like you were a reseller essentially. Is that correct?
Yeah, and we still are today.
Okay.
Where our core competency is we're in distribution. So we make some stuff ourselves. Roughly a little less than half of the products we sell we make, and I've been all over the world, like working with manufacturers making those products. But the other half is other big companies. We just represent those products.
So what was, when you first started your precision medicine product, what was your biggest challenge, you think, when you first started?
So our story is a little bit unique in the fact that, I started in my garage, right? So like in 2010, started this company, and it's a pretty unique experience when you've got like a newborn baby and you're like running a company out of your garage, and you pull into your garage, you see product everywhere. You go inside the house, there's like 3 people in the corner making phone calls. There's like computer screens all everywhere. Marianne used to walk in and be like, "Hey, Jackson's sleeping, be quiet." We'd be like, "Hey, you guys, from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock nap time, so we got to make sure we make, you're just doing it out of your house. You kind of.
So did you actually have to buy the product and have the product on hand, and so you would buy it and ship it to yourself?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So the first couple of years, I didn't make much money at all. I went from making $300,000 a year to like barely making very much at all, because when you start a business, right, you can do really, really well, and you have to front load the cost of the product. If you have employees working for you, you're paying for employees. And we had a lot of AR, accounts receivable. We had a lot of AR built up. We didn't have a lot of cash on hand. So that's like something you learn as an entrepreneur, like how to navigate that cash flow of like, money on hand versus money you're spending.
So how much capital did you have to put in towards inventory? That seems to be like your big expense back then.
Well, it was really simple. If we had like 50 grand come in, we'd buy 45 grand of inventory. Like it's.
So you make the order and then.
Yeah, be like, how much can we? It's not how much can you sell. Like we're borderline overconfident with our selling ability. It's more like how much can we buy? We got 100 grand, buy 95,000. We got 200 grand, buy 198. It's like we would just buy and then sell, and that's.
Would you also ship too?
One thing that set us apart we do a lot of shipping now. The first couple of years, and even to this day, we do patient fittings on like the high-end products. So we'll go to people's homes, sit down with the patient, fit them, really walk them through it. It's a lot better business model to ship to patients because it's a lot cheaper, but we like that like in-depth patient interaction where we can walk them through it. Yeah, it's not cheap. It's not like and you got to balance that. So we've learned over time is you can't do that for every patient because it's not financially feasible. But the ones you can, it makes a big difference to the surgeons. It's something that set us apart from other companies. So
what was your strategy when so it looks like it was mostly, when you first started, you were mostly a sales organization.
Yeah.
So what was your, strategy for marketing? It was just, open to the people didn't know what a phone book is anymore, but were you essentially open up your phone book and dialing and smiling, or did you have a strategy to find prospects?
Yeah, everybody's different. So in medical, all that matters to us is the surgeon. The surgeon writes a prescription and we bill the insurance company. We don't deal with cash at all. There's no online ordering. We didn't even have a corporate website till our third or fourth year in the company. Like it was kind of weird. I know that is totally different. To this day, our website does very little for us. Like it's more informational, it just validates who we are. And besides that, it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, for our company, it's just the surgeons that matter, right? And we would schedule lunches and presentations and educate that one surgeon on all of our products and hopefully earn like his or her trust. And then they start prescribing to us. Does that make sense? So it's a little bit different. Whereas other people you're going maybe B2C or B2B.
So you weren't actually over the phone. Because I understand with sales, it's over the phone. You were actually meeting the surgeons.
Yeah.
And
the first 6 years, we never made one phone call. We didn't do one. It was all face-to-face, 100%.
How many sales reps did you have?
So in the very beginning, there was only 2 of us. And then it became 3 or 4 by the end of the first year.
And you were selling too, I assume.
Yeah, I was my core role my first 3 years was selling. Like it's, and I believe like I meet a lot of entrepreneurs, right? Mm-hmm. And people, I'm like, what's your business? What is it? How much revenue you got? And it's funny how often you hear people say, well, we're pre-revenue right now. We're pre-rev.
Most of the startups, I know.
Yeah, and which is totally fine. Like that's not like, we'll talk about this. I've been part of I've done a bunch of investments in Sacramento. We had one of the largest exits of a company last year that did very well. They were pre-rev. There's companies that can do that. But I think it's, I think things not preached on social media and stuff. It's like, get rich quick, here's how to make money, all that. There's an element where people are totally missing the old school way of just calling on somebody face to face, shaking their hand, explaining a product, giving them a brochure, and doing the face to face interaction. I think so much stuff's gone like to online marketing and social marketing, which is fine. I'm not saying you can make a lot of money doing that. There's some great companies that have done that. But it's not 100% of the of business ideas. There's so much more money, I feel like, to be made on just face-to-face interaction.
So is the surgeon, when you talk to surgeons the one that makes the recommendation for products for the patients to buy?
Yeah.
Or they make it to the hospital to buy? Or?
No, it's 100% the surgeon. It's his it's called MPI number. He's the doctor. He writes a prescription. He gets to decide what company he uses, what product.
Okay, so the surgeon prescribes your devices.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So that was really your sales strategy.
Yep.
Okay, so that initially you were like more of a, like I said, a reseller, but now how long ago did you start making your products?
So the first 5 years, I think it's important. Trying to give you guys some ideas as we go through this, like some ways to think about business a little bit differently. I've seen a lot of young entrepreneurs or startup companies do a bunch of different things. They'll do some manufacturing, they try and sell, they're doing they try and do a little bit of everything. And for us, the first 4 or 5 years, we want to build out our distribution channel. We want to get as many doctors, as many surgeons on board as we can. So we want to stay in the selling lane. We don't want to get into manufacturing. There's a lot more money if you get into manufacturing. There's a lot more money, but we just want to establish our. To this date, we work with like 9,000 surgeons across the United States. 9,000. When the beginning it was like 8 or 9 surgeons, and became 18 surgeons. Remember we worked with like 100 doctors. We're like, this is insane. 100 doctors use us. Now it's like, I think it's like 9,300. It's like we're in 32 states. It's really big because we were able to scale that model. A quick backstory from 2000. So we started the company in 2010, right? And GM plugged along 2010, 11. In 12, we started scaling pretty quick. We were growing. A few of the, like Anthony and a few of the reps just were absolutely crushing it. Other people, it's like when people are doing well, I think you don't even have to, we didn't recruit, we didn't have any kind of full-time recruiter in the company. Other medical reps just heard, hey, you guys are making X amount of dollars per year, your reps are killing it. How do we get involved? So people were just coming to us, and we just organically started growing because we treated people good. We did like incentive trips, and we like celebrated success. We had a good culture. We never jacked with commission rates, and that was the core thing in the company. In 9 years, we've never messed with commission rates, and we've always put in the sales reps first, which I feel like a lot of companies don't do that. So because of that, we were able to attract a lot of salespeople naturally, right? So 2012 to 2014, no company in all of Sacramento, I think it's a 200-mile radius they pulled us out of, like all the counties. Nobody grew faster than us in that 2012-13. We got #1 fastest growing company in Sacramento, so which is a cool award to win. But what made me most proud was 2013 to 2014, we also hit that award again. So to hit that the first time was really freaking tough, but to go back and do it again, in the 60 years they've tracked us with the SAC Business Journal, 60 years, only one company before us had ever done that. We're the second company after a solar company that had a 3-year run rate that was incredible. We were able to beat every company in Sacramento for 3 years. So you got to grow, because it's percentage based, right? So you got to grow and then grow again and then grow again. Like it's a 3-year run rate. It's really tough. The first year, if you're a company that doesn't sell much, you can jack up really quick. But once you're like a $8 million, $9 million, $10 million company, it's hard to grow again, like to scale it that fast. And we were able to do it because I believe at our core, like selling is so important to our company, and that's like what was able to do that. So
you're growing your sales force, and I see on your website you have a lot of different offices. I assume there are all different sales offices then.
Yeah, we're in 32 states.
Yeah. So how did you manage that growth? It seems like it would be, it seems like kind of a difficult task to manage that kind of growth.
Yeah, so that's like the good story, right? That's like everybody reads SAC Business Journal, like you guys are killing it. We had no fucking money. Like literally, like people be like, oh, it's so cool that you guys are so big and amazing. We had like $0. They'd be like, at one point I'm like, stop selling you guys, because we gotta like get cash flow coming in, because every time you guys grow, we have to buy more product. Every time we buy more product, we have nothing in the bank, right? So we actually had a strategy for a full year. It's the weirdest thing ever when you run a business. We're like, nobody grow. Don't recruit, don't hire, just like let's flatline sales for a year, have cash come in, catch up, and then we'll reinvest back in the company. And we did that for about a year and a half, and that's just like understanding your company. To this day, we are 100% self-owned. No private equity, no venture capital. Nobody owns us. We're 100% owned. It allows us to run the company we want to. We don't have to worry about like them playing with commission rates. We can do our national sales meetings wherever we want. And that was important to us just because of our corporate culture, like to be self-owned and not have a private equity or venture capital own us. But what you trade for that is we had to pause for a year and kind of let cash come in to catch up and then revamp again. So that's the quick story of it.
You couldn't get like an SBA loan or something like that?
We have a line of credit that's $2.2 million, which is fine. Like it's great, but when you're spending I mean, like the year prior, we done like $17 million. So like $2 million compared to $17 million in sales isn't really like it's.
Okay.
It was like I think it was 12 to 15% of our whole revenue for the year was the line of credit. It wasn't,
Okay.
So
the going back to the question, like how did you when did you start making products? Because that's a whole different animal itself.
Yeah, exactly. So what happened is we looked at our company, we're like, we're not making money, we're selling everything. This is great. Like SAC Business Journal gives us all these awards, but we're not making anything. So we looked at our company, and we're like, I think at that time, like 45% of our total costs as a company were products. We're spending so much money on products. And then it really made us get creative, like how can we redesign things? How can we make new products? We already had the distribution built out. Mm-hmm. So we went and we flew to China, met with manufacturing plants. We've been to Germany. We went and we're like, we've just got to get our products. And then what's interesting is, you ever heard stories about Amazon? How it's funny, like you'll hear like financial advisors, not now as much, but like 5 years ago, they're like, Amazon doesn't even make any money. Amazon doesn't make any money. It's like, yeah, but they also do like some insane level of like production. So if you can create, like Facebook, I think for the first 9 years didn't make any money either. But if you've got a huge user base, like for us as doctors, we were able to tweak a few things, and all of a sudden, if we can get our product costs from like 45% down to 25%, now we have 20% margin in there to make money on, and that's where we're at today. So essentially, we're able to like revamp the whole company and redo our cost of goods sold, our product costs, and now we can operate off 20% profit, and we do really well. So
what was the first product you designed?
The first ones that we did were like the crutches and braces, and we worked with basically some existing manufacturers that had already been in the industry to help consult us,
okay.
And that's how, yeah.
So you're basically building stuff that was already there, that the crutch.
Yeah.
So it was like it was like a Bluetooth crutch or something like that, right?
No, but it is interesting because it's our new product that we have that we designed. That's the first ever, the calf screws we were talking about, it's DVT prophylaxis, first ever unit with Bluetooth technology built into it. That's our IP. We own the whole Bluetooth, we own the app, we own everything on it. But
so for the most part, it seemed like you were just replicating products that were out
yeah.
there. And did each product have to be FDA approved?
Yeah.
So what's that process like?
It's called a 510K, so it takes like 9 months. You put your submission
you
to the
have a crutch, and then you have to send it to them.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's still a lengthy process then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to do your own products, but you can also represent other companies in the beginning, which you don't make as much money. That's how we built out, and then we started doing our own stuff.
How did you decide what to make? Or were you looking at something that was like low cost that had a high margin type of thing, or?
We just did based on our sales. I mean, it's like we don't. If you read the book like The Lean Startup, and the Lean Startup methodology is that you prove the concept. So for us, we proved it in that model for like 5 years at that time. We had the doctors what they were prescribing. We just made the products that they were always ordering. Okay. So
you actually had all that data, and so it sounds like you went from that to building the thigh squeezer or whatever, the calf squeezer thing. So that seems fairly innovative. But how did that product get? What was the process to develop that product?
So that's what's unique about our company is over the course of like the last 9 years, right? What we sell today is entirely different than what we sold in the beginning. Partly that's like because of like bill codes changing and reimbursement issues, and then also part of it's just the surgeons wanted different products. So we've kind of pivoted our products through the last 9 years on what people wanted, and that's kind of how we got into that DVT prophylaxis unit. It's a number 2 leading cause of death in hospitals, and surgeons want to prevent that, so it's something they prescribe a lot.
Also, there's something else out there that does it.
Yeah, so it was a product that's already there, and then we came on and made a better unit basically.
Was the Bluetooth thing, was that you guys, or was that the day already had a Bluetooth?
No, we were the first ones to do it.
See, that's innovation there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then has that gone through? I assume that had to go through the FDA process and all that.
Yeah, the actual unit itself was already cleared. To put the Bluetooth on, we didn't have to do the FDA process for compliance. But the great thing was some of the insurance carriers actually reimbursed us more because it has more technology built into it. So
that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that you invested, you had did some investment locally. Tell me about that.
So, done a couple things. So we did pretty well at Precision Medical, and that's kind of that road I was telling you guys that story. Like it is a little deceiving. Like the years that we were doing really well, we didn't have that much money, and then the years where they're like, oh, Precision's not growing at all, the company's down. It's like we're making more money we ever have in our life. Like it's just weird how like I think a majority of people don't understand like sales versus like accounts receivable and how you account for stuff. So we had to get money come in, and then in a way to kind of give back to the community, I wanted to support some local startups. I've been about 9 companies I've been involved with that some have done well and some have failed, and I've lost all my investment. But it's kind of you live and learn. One of the good ones we did this last year, we just sold the company. I was part of it for a little bit more than 2 years. Freeform Factory, I don't know if you guys heard of it. It's electric jet ski. Is the first ever electric watercraft. So they were marketing as like the Tesla for watercraft. And this kid Jordan's awesome. Started at 22 years old, and he had the patents for thermoforming for this jet ski. So take your mind off the jet ski for a second, because everybody gets involved with the jet ski part. It wasn't the jet ski. It was the fact that any electric watercraft had to have this thermoforming patent that he had. And one question I always get asked is like, what companies do you invest in? Because I'm part of SAC Angels also. In SAC Angels, we get pitched on a ton of companies, right? The reason I liked this company is I invested in Jordan. Like I believed in, he was a super smart kid, and I loved like his ideas and concepts. So put money in that. I don't know if I'm allowed to disclose the numbers.
Go ahead.
Well, I know you're fine with that. I don't know if Jordan's. I'm not.
This isn't being recorded.
No, but so we took roughly. I'll talk rough numbers. So I don't know if I have to actually read the fine print of the sale, the final sale. But we were able to take a small amount of investment, like about $500,000 invested, and turn that into an 8-digit number. It was very, very high. I think it was a second or third biggest exit in all of Sacramento last year. I mean, and it was awesome. Like, and I was the lead investor in that. There's only 3 board members, me, Jordan, and a guy named Ken. And the 3 of us through 2 years, it was awesome to be part of that story. There's also stories where we lost everything. You put like $100,000 in a company and lost all $100,000, right? So I don't know, entrepreneurship. It's like you win some, you lose some.
Right now, there's actually a lot of entrepreneurs here. You missed the hands there is. If they wanted to pitch you, could they pitch you, or what's the process to pitch you? Let's put it that way.
So I'm not like, I run a medical company like 60, 70 hours a week, whatever the number is. I'm not like a venture capital private equity guy. I did it at first like for fun. I was like, throw $50,000 at that company, throw $100,000 at that, see if it works. And then got involved with Freeform a little bit more because I liked Jordan, I liked the company, I loved I thought it was pretty cool to be like, we're going to be the Tesla of watercraft. Like that was pretty fun, like to just dream about that stuff. So that was the first company I actually got involved in, was on the board of directors and helped scale it. Everything else I've been super passive. And I sit on the sideline with that one I was actually pretty involved with. So to answer your question, how do you, people submit to the SAC Angels, and then every 6 weeks we hear a presentation, 2 presentations a night, and we invest on it.
So the best way to get in front of you is to get in front of SAC Angels.
Yeah, I mean,
just
I know what I used to get, probably Austin does this, probably about 4, 5, 6 companies a week used to come at us, and it was just taking up all of our bandwidth. Like, it was trying to be nice. I'm like, let's meet the company, hear them out, and then it was taking up a lot of time to hear these presentations and dig in more and do due diligence. So now I like to do it through the SAC Angels just because it's a vetting process. They do it all for us. We hear the live presentation, and if we're interested, then they can kind of take out those first 2 or 3 steps out of the equation for us, and then I can hear a company on their actual pitch.
This just occurred to me. Do people come to you if they have a medical device to see if you would be willing to?
Yeah, those we will hear. Like if it's within the.
That was for you.
Yeah, so if it's in the medical space, we'll totally hear that because we have distribution channel that can scale that very quickly, and that's in our wheelhouse. So we'll absolutely look at those right away. 99 out of the 100 pitches we get are not in medical. They're like, hey, we got this cannabis company. Hey, we got this like new tech startup. Yeah, it's like, I mean, they're all intriguing, but
Well, so
yeah.
I'll pitch Cindy. She actually has a medical device. She'll talk more about it, but she came from a startup weekend. Her company came
Okay.
from Startup Weekend. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's her pitch. You need to connect me and buy me lunch afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to hear about that. So
Did you literally have to scale back sales, like either lay off people or tell people not to sell, or?
we didn't lay off. What we did is we just did a hiring freeze. We just said we're not going to hire anybody across the nation. We're going to let cash flow catch up, and then we're going to have like a reserve so that when we do grow, we can have something like more like take the stress off us and have like a nest egg to the side. So that way, when you get a $1.9 million lawsuit, you can have someone to pay off the lawsuit with.
Cindy?
So I know it's not your business model, but as you probably know, Amazon's going into medical supply business. And I'm wondering, how do you think this will impact the medical supply industry?
So I've got one of the foremost experts in the nation with Amazon and medical. So Austin set up for our company. We have a corporate medical account with Amazon. They contacted us. There's only a few companies in the nation that have these. We're like a registered Amazon distributor. And so to answer two questions, I think when you're in the Amazon game, it's all about volume and big numbers, right? So for us, we really couldn't get it to pencil out, to be honest, because Amazon fees and when you're selling on Amazon, everybody's competing, right? And more competition drives down the price, right? To be able to so the price gets driven down, and then Amazon takes a big cut of that. So the margins weren't really that high for us in that, but in our products, right? But we believe that Amazon's the way of the future. So we bought this 77,000 square foot. I don't know if you guys know what 77,000 square foot is. Like, I didn't know till I saw the building. What's that?
2 acres.
2 acres, yeah. So it's basically, think about how big Costco is, right? You walk in Costco, this is big. It's 2 of those, maybe 2.5. Like this is a massive distribution center. And we bought it with the whole premise that Amazon and it's called 3PL, third-party logistics, that you're going to see malls disappear across the nation. You're already seeing it, right? Malls are disappearing and industrial space is popping up. And that's essentially what we're putting a lot of money in as a company. We're looking at buying 3-4 more buildings in the next 2 years, like big buildings. And we're trying to we want to own third-party logistics because we're really, really good at it. Our systems are amazing. We can get products to patients really quickly. And there's a lot of people in the area, maybe some people in this room, where you have an online business. And if I was to do a company again, like from scratch, to have a company where you only have 2-3 employees and that's it, and you're just done, is very, that's pretty cool. And you can do that now online. So for somebody who wants to start a business and have like 2-3 people do it all online, we would come in and do the back end fulfillment for them. We do all the shipping, receiving, logistics, hold the inventory for you, and just ship. So we're putting a lot of money in that. We believe that that's where real estate's going to be in the next 10, 20 years. You ever hear stories about McDonald's and how McDonald's didn't make the money selling hamburgers? They made it on the real estate. Like when it was all said and done, McDonald's owned an incredible amount of real estate across the United States. And that's what we want to do, is just own as much industrial space as we can. So,
Well, if I understand your business model, it's the surgeons that prescribe it. So you have that infrastructure. I don't see how Amazon would have that infrastructure where a surgeon would prescribe like an Amazon product or an Amazon device.
yeah, Amazon's not going to work across the board in medical. They're having actually a pretty tough time breaking into medical. But for certain products, they can commodity-based products like Band-Aids, Buffon caps, gloves, like things like that. They can, because you don't really need a sales rep. You don't need a person educating you on it. It's kind of commodity, so you just buy it. So that stuff does work. But when it comes to like surgical equipment and stuff that patients are using and affects like the outcomes, you're gonna usually have like a product expert involved in that process.
So your strengths are really in like sales, relationships with physicians, distribution, those sorts of things. But you've also created products, and I'm curious if you outsource your R&D and your manufacturing, or if that's something you do in-house.
So I'm in the middle of writing this book, right? I'm calling it Success Algorithm, and it'll take me 2 years to write this book, and it's gonna be awesome. Like I put a lot of time into it, and what's motivating is like I want to leave something for my kids, so when they get into business later, my goal is like 15, 20 years from now, I'm not going to be like running a company anymore because I've done pretty well, and I maybe do venture capital, or I'm not running day-to-day operations. So I want to have something I leave to them where I'm like, here's like a blueprint of how to run a company, right? Makes sense? Like, because I think a lot of people write books like after they leave their industry and they're kind of reflecting back on stuff. I want to write it like when I'm in the trenches, in the battle of it. So with that said, one of the key things is like who you bring with you, right? So I know my skills, like what I'm good at. I'm good at like what you mentioned, but when it comes to logistics, HR, operations, accounting, like those are not my skill set. So I've went out and actively found like the best in Sacramento to kind of go and take that for a part of our company, if that makes sense. So that's not my skill set.
What about though your engineering and R&D around the new products that you've created?
Yeah, so we bring in like patent attorneys for new patents. We do a lot of consultants. We bring them in.
Is that done in-house? Like, do you have the designers and engineers in-house, or are you like hiring somebody?
We subcontract them out. Yeah, we don't have. I mean, maybe one day we will, but we're 30 million right now. We only have like one big product we release actually our own R&D, patents, all that, like true A to Z ownership. We're only producing one of those every 2 years, on that stuff. So the consultants are better for us.
I actually think that is better. There's a lot of great consultants out there, and it's a high cost to build up your own R&D department, and then to try and bring engineers into your company culture.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be weird.
Yeah.
With like where everyone is very sales focused. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's interesting.
More questions? Okay, so I actually, before you, I actually forgot to ask you, and I think, what advice do you have, what's general advice you have for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so the one thing I want to share with you guys is, okay, so in 2015, after we just finished our great year in selling and the company had no money, right? I got a recruiter call me up and said, you've proven that you can build a company in medical. We want a CEO to come in and run. We have a new product we're releasing. And they offered me, it was right at like $1.2 million salary plus equity in the company. It was a really good package. It was awesome. And at the time when you're not making any money and you put your whole life into something for 4 or 5 years, you're like, man, financially it'd be a lot better to walk away and go be the CEO of this new company, and they just got FDA approval on what would be a really cool product, and the product ended up doing really well. That was like somewhat intriguing, but for me, like my why and my purpose and everything was so strong and so rooted that I'm like, I'm not leaving this. Like I'm 100% committed to this cause. And I had a lot of my best friends that worked with me. We had done really well in selling, but it was a pride thing. Like I want to figure this out. We didn't make money the last like couple of years, but we've got the sales there and just re-gutting it. But it all came back to that why, if that makes sense. Like that's the one thing I want to share with people. Is like I think people look past that and they kind of just start their entrepreneurial journey and they're like, I want to do this. I'd like to make money. If you have a really, really, really strong, passionate why, you can do great things. And our company's entirely different today than it was when we started. Like different products, there's so much different about it, but the why is still the same. Does that make sense? The why still stayed the course the whole time. So just maybe think about that. Just want to challenge. Like there's a good YouTube video by Simon Sinek that says start with why, and that's really good. Like if you start with like why and your emotional purpose, I think it's very powerful. It's a whole book too. Yeah, it's book. Yeah, I like the YouTube videos. Like awesome of him explaining it. Yeah.
All right, final question. Who's your favorite superhero?
Oh, favorite superhero. Let's see. I'm so bad. Like I literally went through all of college and didn't have like a TV or anything. Like I didn't even like. I'm crazy. If I had to pick from when I was a kid, my nickname through college was Boy Wonder. So Robin, Batman and Robin. They called Robin Boy Wonder. And I just always liked it. I always like Robin, Boy Wonder.
You're the first Robin. We get a lot of Iron Mans and Batman.
Yeah.
You're the first Robin. Well, anyway, I think you have 4 kids, right?
Yeah.
And I think your kids will like this. We actually made a video game for you, so.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
So thanks for being our entrepreneur hero, and thanks for coming here and supporting our community.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.